stream. We need to tweet this new link once it is up because it'll be new. And those 8 people waiting in the thing are going to be disappointed.
Put the new link in the chat.
In the chat for the, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Ah, we're live. Look at us.
Can you come here?
Yay! Oh my god, there's such a
I
delay.
feel like I should be watching
I know.
that or something. God.
Let me
Where
go
is it?
here. Hey guys. Technical difficulties. Here is the new link.
Please stand by.
Oh, that's good.
That's as good a comment you're going to get at 4 in the morning. On
Okay.
my second Coca-Cola.
Let us do this. We are live.
I'm just gonna keep retweeting until.
I enjoy how messy we are.
Yeah, it's really great.
I'm forward to it.
Okay. Well, we have 4 people watching. So we should probably start. Antony, do you want to do the intro?
Sure. Welcome, everybody, whether you're joining us live or catching us later in the day. Welcome to our spoiler review and breakdown of WandaVision Episode 9, the series finale, as it is titled, and also the show overall. We all just watched the finale. It's fresh in our minds, and we have a diverse range of opinions to break down this first chapter of Phase 4 for the MCU. Just to introduce everybody, I am Antony. Go ahead, introduce all yourselves.
Do you want to rattle us off? Because I feel like that'd be
Sure. Yousef.
Hello, hola, bonjour.
Natalia.
Why the cats have been fight?
Liam.
Hurrah! Konnichiwa.
Constance.
Morning, good night, good evening, wherever you are.
And Sahel.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a nice day or night.
So yeah, we're just going to get in. It's going to be a kind of a free-for-all discussion. Wherever we take the conversation is where it will go. Anybody want to kick it off with their opinions on the final episode?
I loved it.
Let's get a temp for the room, shall we?
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah, I agree with Liam.
Yeah, I think I can go with that.
What about you,
I'm a step
Constance?
above meh.
3 mehs. We have a above meh. I loved it, but I am a little
Above meh.
surprised. And Sahel, you loved it as well?
Yes, that's right.
Mm.
Okay.
I feel like I've wasted 5 hours of my life.
Okay, so
It's been a waste of 6 hours, but it wasn't, was it?
So
Okay, let's.
Yeah, Sahel, why don't you start us off?
All right, let's start off with the minutes, because that's one thing, and the runtime, which I've been quite critical about it. I was like, I need at least an hour, and I got 50 minutes, so that's a tad disappointing. But at least we got 2 post-credit scenes, which I would have missed the last one if it wasn't for Liam. So thank you, Liam. It started off right back when episode 7 ended, so that was good. It
8.
wasn't like another 8. Oh, sorry, 8.
You're good.
I even have 8 in my mind. Where Agnes or Agatha took the children and were choking them mercilessly. That was really sad. And Wanda's like, here's my power, and then I'll show you. And then her hand started going black. And I was like, oh, her power is getting drained. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, what did we think? I'll ask this to the council. What did we think of the Agatha versus Wanda fight? That took half of the episode. What do we think of the powers, the birth of the Scarlet Witch, getting to see her costume? What do we think of that?
So
Marvel
there were 3
generic.
fights. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what Sahel said.
Yeah, there were three battles going on: Vision versus Vision, the kids and Monica versus the military, and
Yeah.
Wanda versus Agatha, which I was very happy about. It wasn't like one huge
was-
battle.
I was more entertained with the Vision versus Vision one than
I was
with the
It was
Agatha
very
Really?
intellectual, wasn't it?
Yes, which is why
I
I
was
liked
more
it.
entertained by the
Apparently,
kids.
apparently
Yeah.
3 a.m. me is really into the intellectualness of it. So that's
It made
fine.
sense. I was
So
very happy.
people had a problem with one. I didn't like either. But people had a problem with Wonder Woman's final battle being a bunch of talking, but not Vision versus Vision being a bunch of talking. Really?
No, because
Well,
it made
because-
sense. It made
Well,
sense
and
because
also-
It did make sense. It did make sense because
Yeah.
Vision isn't, because the way Vision's based, it would make sense that he would outwit himself by using intellect.
But I found it a
Yeah.
little disappointing that, and we're going off topic because we were supposed to talk about Agatha, but I guess we could talk
No.
about the Visions first.
Let's
I
talk
found it
about
a little
all
bit
three,
yeah.
disappointing that we had the big kind of reveal at the end of the last episode, and then basically what ended up happening with White Vision, who looked super cool, was he came in, they had a bunch of CGI fighting, and then they talked, and then he's like, "I'm good now," and then he flew
Well,
away.
Let's not forget one of the most shocking moments, if not the most shocking moment of this episode, which is when White Vision took Wanda's head and started to crush it.
Oh,
That was a
cool.
great moment.
Exactly, like when that happened, I was like, "Oh, this episode's gonna be good, and I'm gonna eat my words, and Antony was gonna be right about this the whole time," and then it just went. And like it was disappointing because there were so many also cool, and I don't want to talk about the theories because I'm not like upset that my theories were wrong or whatever, people like to say. I'm just like, it would have been cool if Ultron's voice came out of there. It would have been cool if he didn't speak at all. But the fact that it was just robotic,
Paul Bettany
all
versus Paul
Bettany,
Bettany.
was like, really?
I'll give you that one. I think if they had made it James Spader's voice, but I do think there was Doctor Strange does not show up in this episode. There are certain things they could have done to tie it more into the MCU that I think Jack Schaefer, who's the head writer and creator, that they chose to put the story they're telling about Wanda and Vision first in front of the overall MCU thing. And I wonder if that was a choice because they were worried whether people would watch a television show, if they would get the audience to come. I think that fear has been assuaged now. But I did appreciate that when it came down to it at the end, it was about Wanda and only Wanda, and then Vision as well.
Yeah.
So that's why it didn't mind me as much. But I'll give you that. If it was Ultron's voice, it would have been. It would have been.
It
cool.
would have been. And there was, I felt it was quite right to them having that type of discussion because that's the discussion he had with Ultron. It was more talking than fighting because their capabilities and, or rather abilities were rather the same. So he can only, tell him off rather than take him down. So I thought that was right. And we speculated that the White Vision would be integral for his return, Vision's return to normalcy. So that also made sense with me. I didn't mind that it wasn't Ultron, because there was other stuff going on. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Natalia, is there anything that stuck out to you in the episode that you want to talk about?
Good bits first.
Good bits first? Okay. I liked the makeup department slowly like destroying Wanda from the inside out with that. Stop it! Oh my god.
It's Wanda.
Yes, it's Wanda. It's always it's all Wanda. Ow. And no, that part was disgusting. I was not a fan, which is why I like it. I was convinced, I liked when Wanda did the nightmare fuel with Agatha, because it was like a return to her roots, and then that screwed her up. Got myself, and yeah, that was good. I didn't the kids didn't really have that much to do. Very disappointed with that because they're there to set up the next
Well-
generation. Antony, don't say anything. I'm not done speaking.
You keep that stump.
And
I'm keeping it stump.
Mhm. And yeah, Wanda looked hot. Okay, now you can talk.
I'm just saying, because we haven't seen the last of the kids, as the post-credit scene tells us.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we stop with this? We haven't seen the end
Wait.
yet because every episode that there's an issue, everyone always says, "Oh, well, the next episode's gonna be better." This is the finale. There's no excuses.
I'm
The
not
kids were
saying
wasted. Yes, they're
it'll
gonna
be
come
better.
back.
I think Antony was
But they
talking about the
wasted them
movies. But okay.
This
I
Well,
know,
story needed
I get it.
more. It needed to set up the kids coming
you.
back. It needed to set up what Wanda's going to be doing going forward. It needed to set up what was going to happen with the Spider-Man film. It needed to set up what was going to happen with Doctor Strange 2. You can shake your head as much as you want, but that is what was promised from the outset by Kevin Feige. The
Thank
concept
you.
of this whole thing was, we are setting up the multiverse. It is going to start with WandaVision. It's going to go into Spider-Man 3, and then it's going to end with Doctor Strange 2. This is from the outset. This is what we went into this with the goal of watching. What of the setup? Nothing. We're back at square one.
Let me say
Wanda's
two
just
whole
things that I
series-
agree with.
That whole series
Wanda-
could have not happened.
I-
And it would make no difference.
And it would make
they
no
could've
difference
to the
told
ongoing
us
story.
off screen. They could have
Yeah.
done a show don't tell sort of thing. Maybe if they had the budget of,
Yeah. So
of
Hill,
showing us
what were you
how
gonna
did she
say?
get the book and how did she get her outfit like that. And like that's
Exactly.
it.
And that
I will
outfit,
say two
before I go,
things.
that outfit, shit.
Excuse me,
disagree.
that outfit was
Headdress,
I disagree.
boring.
The headdress
It's too
was
small.
Not,
It's
was
not the
very
right
tiny.
like. It
yes.
doesn't look right. It doesn't look
Mhm.
right compared to her face.
Yeah.
that's
Also,
I was
it's
like,
not the.
confused
It
with
needs
the
to be
cape
bright.
thing.
It needs to be a different color. It's too. It's
Mhm.
too. It looks like
It's too
every
dark.
other Marvel.
Yeah.
I disagree. It
costume.
was quite.
I'm
Every
with that.
Marvel costume.
She looked
It
hot,
wasn't
but
that
she needed
red,
to be
but
redder.
Okay. Yeah, I
It
agree.
was
It should be a little
brown.
bit red.
She had a
so you see it.
brown.
Okay, hold
brown.
on. Let's let Sohail get his 2 points out first, and then I'm gonna rip
Yeah.
all of you apart. So go
I mean,
ahead.
Get
Liam made 3 points there. One, I disagree with, but two, I have to cave to because this is Kevin Feige's story. You know, he made it. Antony, you talk about the showrunner. Kevin Feige is the one that told him to do this, so we can't like defend Kevin Feige if we're not gonna, you know, people do that with DC where it's like, oh, it's Warner Brothers' fault, but it's never the filmmakers. Well, I'm blaming this on Kevin Feige. Also, a success. You know, I think it's a successful show, and I should commend him for that. What I was disappointed in.
Oh, someone's just
Even-
called us a fucking snob.
Ooh,
Where?
about
I
what?
don't see it.
God,
Oh, yeah.
God, that twat is a
Warm
fucking
panda
snob.
milk.
Wait,
Thank you, Warm Panda Milk. I
Thank
am,
you.
yes.
Oh, I'm not
Can-
reading
what I will
it.
say
Okay.
is that the story needed to be more connected to the MCU storyline. So I agree with Liam on that. I thought Doctor Strange would come back, and I thought that would be in the last post-credit scene. But there was a scroll, so I was like, okay, it's tying into what Nick Fury's
Oh, right.
TV show or
Scrolls
something
there.
like that. So
Well, so he's gonna have the Secret Invasion show.
mhm.
I was thinking that more teases Captain Marvel.
but
too.
Yeah,
he said
I saw it as
he
Captain
wants to
Marvel
meet
as
you.
well.
I would
But
just
to be
like
fair,
to-
they also said he's coming.
He
He's
Exactly.
he the
Also-
aerospace engineer is
Yeah,
coming along.
yeah.
Well, he fucking did. He didn't because it was a she and it was no one. So
exactly.
I give you that. Yep.
This
that's fine.
show is so irritating to me. And like I was so on board for so long, but the fact that we're at the finale and there's so much left undone, and I know you like to say that it's art and don't get in the way of, and it's not anything about the fan theories, it's about they left so many loose threads. Like
there
where
were so many
is
things
the
they set up to end
Yeah.
and
That they
happen in this
exactly.
show that they
Yeah.
never did anything with.
Exactly. And it's not like
The set
the
Dottie
6 hour
up to be.
runtime.
The
Be
set Dottie
specific.
up to be
The six-
someone. Dottie was no one.
She wasn't.
I don't think
yeah.
that's true.
The
did.
the
No.
witness
Part of the-
protection program person. Who was that person?
Oh God,
Who was the
that's right.
aerospace
whole reason
engineer?
Jimmy Woo was there.
Who was the person Jimmy even the person Jimmy Woo called? I was like, maybe this will be somebody important, but it wasn't. I'm not gonna
There's the
hold that against
FBI.
them, but like, I know,
called the
but I was like,
FBI.
maybe it's someone.
No, that's your.
But the
That's
point
you
is,
thinking.
I
was
know
the
that's me,
FBI.
but I'm just saying. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, this show just continues to not do anything with the stuff that they set up and continues to make false promises. It's like if you went to a restaurant and you were like ordering this like 5-course steak dinner and they serve you everything but the steak and you're like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, it's
Okay,
food, it's art,
I-
it tastes good. And it's like, yeah, but it's not a fucking steak.
I need
You know
to
what I mean?
jump in here.
Like, it's still good, but
Hey.
it's not what you ordered.
After
I need to
Antony
jump-
let
Yousef,
Constance speak.
Remember that this
Yes.
is live and you can't edit.
I know, I can swear. I
Um,
just don't want Liam to say like his what he said during the blue ribbons that I had to bleep.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
want to jump in here because listen, I think it's very clear, I'm a big MCU fan. I've loved the story that they've been telling. This is now the 24th chapter. I love it. What they told us from Comic-Con 2019 and probably earlier, the stake that you're talking about was WandaVision. It's Wanda and Vision's story. I get it. We want more. We always want more because we're invested in these characters in this world. But the
Mm.
story that they set out to tell was about Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. And I think by the end of it, especially with their goodbye, that story was told. And I think Wanda came out of this show such a stronger character, such a more defined character, and Elizabeth Olsen gave such a beautiful performance that I think, yes, we could have wanted more. But, and I hate to play this card, we're going to get more. So we don't have, Doctor Strange 2 is happening, and they're going to be together in the same movie. And she's probably going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home. So we're getting that. But I think if you're looking at WandaVision for what it actually is instead of what people thought it would be, I think it does succeed. This is a story about this family. And that's in the end what the show decided to be about.
I
And
want to push back on that, and then we can let Constance talk.
Can we push
Liam,
back
go ahead.
because
Yeah.
you keep on saying what the fans projected. We haven't projected anything. We were told
Thank you.
this story is a setup for
And once we
this
watch
You
saga.
don't
Doctor
waste-
Strange
you
2,
don't-
we'll know how
It's
it
not
did
set
set
anything
up.
up.
No, it
didn't
doesn't
set
matter,
anything
Antony,
up.
though. This is its own thing, right? It is in the larger Marvel story, which is what the end credit scenes are for, but this is its own show. This is supposed to be its own story that
And
is a
it
part
was
of a
its own
larger story.
story.
Therefore, it needs to have but it wasn't satisfying because every loose thread, there
you.
was so many things. No, not to me. Just you don't spend
Well-
so many lines and episodes in time on an aerospace engineer that ends up being an extra in an army uniform. You don't spend 5-10
But
minutes of dialogue
Again,
setting up
these
oh god, what's the word for it, the witness protection program person, and it being absolutely nobody.
Let me
you don't
remind
leave a
you,
cliffhanger on what
it's not
happened
like-
to Darcy and then it's nothing. You know what I
Let
mean?
me-
Like they
let
just
me-
did all these things. Even in the last even in the last
Go.
episode, they set up, oh, the kids are gonna be choked. What's gonna happen? Nothing. She threw them out in the first 30 seconds. So
What
they
were they
keep
going- what
doing
was she
this where
going
they
to do,
are
kill
like,
her?
oh,
Kill
see
them?
what's gonna happen. No, but it's so. I understand she had to let the kids go, but the fact that every episode they're like, come back and see what happens, and then within the first 20 seconds, the first 30 seconds, they're like, oh, it didn't matter. Here's a new story, and you're like, really? That's
But
what's
there was a lot of
irritating. And there's
This is
so many
exactly-
unanswered questions.
This is
There's
exactly
so many
what they
unanswered
did
questions.
with Agents of Shield, and everyone ripped Agents of Shield apart. Everyone tore Agents of Shield to shreds when that came out. This show is exactly the same as Agents of Shield.
But with
I
a
like
bigger
that show.
budget.
Exactly the same. I liked
Yeah.
Agents of Shield, and this
Me too.
show has exactly the same amount of input into the larger MCU as Agents of Shield did, and that is fuck all.
What I will
Let's
say
let
is devil's
Constance
advocate,
speak.
Marvelite.
Let's
but I
let
will
co-
say-
let-
Continuously
wait.
try and berate people when they say that we're wrong.
Children, hush. Let's let Constance
go.
speak. She hasn't said a word, and then we can continue to rip everyone apart. So
She's
Constance,
smart,
go
that's
ahead.
why.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna find out I'm very much the middle of the road person. So I'm more with Antony. Okay. I think the problem is they do put threads out there, and so it leads us to think certain things. I can appreciate WandaVision for what it is. A lot of people hate the first 2 episodes. I love them. But tonally, when you watch the entire show, tonally it's all over the place. We have this cutesy sitcom, and then we have all this mystery, because they really do hammer, ooh, it's mysterious. The complaints you guys were just talking about, that's classic television. Every TV show is all like, find out what happens next week, and then you come back and then it's like, oh, that's over, you know. So it's very meta in that way, that it mimics TV shows. At Comic-Con, when they announced WandaVision, they said 2 things. They said it's going to be weird, which it was, but I think in a good way.
Yeah.
And it's going to tie directly into Doctor Strange too. He didn't say set up, he said tie into. Those were Kevin Feige's words. I worry that because Marvel has conditioned us to overanalyze every word, we start looking for things that aren't there. Like, people are like, the X-Men are coming, Fantastic Four is coming, you know, oh my God, it's going to be this, it's going to be Mephisto. You know, I'm not a Marvel comics aficionado, but people are like, oh yeah, it's going to be Nightmare, it's going to be this other guy, it's Swarm's coming. I'm like, I don't know who these people are. So it does get in the way of enjoying what it is of itself. What I liked about the show, it is a complete story. It didn't end with the whole what's going to happen next. It felt very like, okay, she did this and now she's off doing her Thanos, sitting there looking at the sunset or sunrise. That's what I thought when I saw the last post-credit scene.
Thanos,
It's
Maine
like Thanos
edition.
in Infinity War.
Yeah, it
Thanos
was.
in Maine.
But it's all over the place. So I understand why those of you who are like, oh my God, this is upsetting. I'm like, right, because they zig and then they zag and then they zig again. And you're like, but now you zagged. Why aren't we zagging still? So both sides make total sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll pick
Can I
up on that
respond to a
point.
couple of things?
Yes.
Wait,
Actually, yeah, no, Sohail, you go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe I'll respond to with what you're saying, but to play devil's advocate, it was disappointing that they didn't, at least as Constance and Antony rightly said, that Kevin Feige said in 2019, whatever, that Comic-Con, that it will tie into Doctor Strange, and everyone was waiting for that, you know, Doctor Strange, oh, he's coming, maybe he's not. That was speculation. Okay, that died down. But I felt like the last post-credit scene, I thought that would be the one to tie it in, at least, but it didn't. So I was like, you know, there needs to be like a connecting thread. That thread that we're talking about is just loose. It's just wandering about in the multiverse of madness or something. But yeah, Yousef, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and it's hard because I see what all of you are saying. And I don't know about Liam, but for me, my issues didn't come from the fact that we didn't see Doctor Strange. Because Doctor Strange not showing up.
That's not my issues. I don't need them to show up, but I need the setup.
That wasn't even my, like, I think the ending for this was perfect. I love the ending. I love the end credit scenes. I love the way they wrapped it up. Right? Just like Constance says, it was its own perfect little story. I think that was great. And the end credit scenes got me really, really, really excited. So my problem wasn't that Doctor Strange didn't show up. It wasn't that the X-Men didn't show up. It wasn't that Fisto wasn't the villain. Like, I loved what they did with Evan Peters in this episode. I think it was hilarious. And I think he pulled it off.
Let's bring in Evan
well.
Peters to make a boner joke. Woo!
It worked though. It worked. My issue is the fact that, you know, as you said, this is a mystery and Marvel hasn't really done a mystery, and Marvel hasn't even done a TV show really, because the other stuff was Jeff Loeb. So obviously they're going to make some mistakes, and I felt like they made some mistakes because they were so, you know, you write a mystery backwards. Usually you come up and then you like think of all the other stuff after. But I feel like with this, they were so excited about, oh, let's do this and let's throw this in and let's, you know, throw this red herring and this red herring and this red herring, and it just became like, you know, why am I covered with a bunch of fish? You know what I mean? Like, it was just so much that they didn't do anything with. So I think the writing of the mystery was sloppy, and it's fine because it's their first mystery and it's their first TV show. But it's annoying when people are just saying, this is amazing, this is 100%, this is the best thing I've ever seen, when it's not, and it's fine. But if we give Marvel the actual the constructive criticism that they need, I think this will help improve Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If,
Well,
Miss
there's no
Marvel, all
fucking
those
Falcon and the
shows.
Winter Soldier.
Well,
Come
yeah,
on.
but you know what I
wait.
mean. If we give
Can we
them all
just
this
add,
false hope
though-
of this is 100%, then they're not going to fix anything.
Can we just add
I
though?
agree.
It's also the fact that when you say it's not 100% amazing, especially online, you just get shot down.
But that's not Marvel's
See the
fault.
pinned
That's the
comment
fandom.
on this live stream.
Yeah, the
that's well, yeah. Like it's not.
Hey, I
it's
don't
not
say
Marvel's
that.
fault, but Marvel won't
Yeah.
see the criticism if the stands get in the way of it.
I disagree with
That's
that
my
because
point.
I think when you went from Age of Ultron to then Civil War, they did see that, oh, we need to make sure we tell a good story on top of doing the MCU world building, because Age of Ultron felt very like the Thor hot tub scene. I do think that they learn and grow. I mean, that's how Endgame was able to happen. It's how we got Thor Ragnarok after Thor the Dark World. I do think they're able to grow. And I do think Yousef is right. We need to be clear on what we liked, what we didn't like. Constructive criticism is always a positive thing. And I think what we're doing right now is what should be happening, a nice, very calm, or very respectful conversation. I think in the end, it is interesting, because I feel like all of us went into it differently. Where I went into it as a fan of these two characters and wanting to see their story, where I know some others, as some of them pointed out, wanted to see it connect to Doctor Strange, open up the multiverse. And I can understand that you didn't get that, and that may be a little disappointing. I think I just kind of had a feeling that this was always going to be more of a character study than an MCU world building thing, especially because it was their first television show. So again, I guess I had different expectations, which is why I felt that they were met. So, and I think that's fair since we have different feelings. For me,
think-
it
I
met,
do
and
think-
And I
think
do
that-
think
yeah. And the
It's
mystery,
Liam,
fair
go
for
ahead.
people to
they
have different
solved.
opinions on what they want going in. But I think if you're going to have, it's fine to have the different opinions. However, if you're going to have the different opinions, there's an error on the part of the creators if they're at such juxtaposition to each other. So if I'm going into this based on the conversations that have been had by the creators, if I'm going into this thinking I'm getting a world building series and all I get is
Liam,
a tightly compact sitcom based love story with a teeny tiny little nugget at the end of, oh look, she's in a cabin and her astral projection is floating with a fucking book.
Liam,
If that's my tie-in
Yeah.
throughout watching 5 hours worth of content, that's not good enough.
Liam, can I ask?
And I agree with that. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I just really quickly, because I hear you and I understand that in the moment, right now, an hour after we finish the show, that you may feel that it didn't set up that thing. But like, for example, we're now, 6 years removed from Age of Ultron. If you go back and watch that movie and you see that movie introduced everything in WandaVision, because it gave us Wanda and Vision. It introduced Cap picking up Mjolnir. It introduced like so many things. In the moment, we didn't know that. And I understand it's again my
But we
tired argument that
did.
let's wait. But
I
we
think
didn't know
We
they were going to
didn't.
there
set
needs to
up.
be
did.
some
We
grounded.
we
I'm
can't.
gonna
Everyone must be grounded
Look,
in
no.
the fact that this is a TV show, not a movie, and that these
It's
TV shows
the
were going to be different.
24th
Right,
No,
can I
chapter
finish
okay,
my point
in the
though?
stop.
Right,
MCU.
can I finish my
Yes,
point though? Because I got
Liam
cut
finished
off.
your point, and then I want to fight what Sohail said because I think that's completely wrong, and then I want to defend Antony. So go ahead.
Look,
Ooh.
yes, we don't. Yes, we in looking back on Age of Ultron, there was a lot of things. However, we all noticed them at the time. We just didn't care because the story it was telling was shit.
Wasn't that big yet.
Looking back on WandaVision, I'm still not going to change my mind and go, you know what?
Well,
the
we
fact
don't know that.
the fact that they set up this, well, fucking bravo, clap for them. No, I'm not going to think that. I'm going to think, oh, good, that's nice to set that up, but it was still fucking shit.
I want to
just-
fight a couple I want to make a couple points. So first of all, I disagree with Liam. I think that the setup that they had here for Doctor Strange 2 or whatever, or Spider-Man or whatever the hell they do, was a good one. It was a reference to Doctor Strange. You had the, Billy or Tommy or one of them reaching out. You had the setup throughout the show with Agatha saying, you don't know what you
They played
did.
his
You don't know what
music
you unleashed or
at the
whatever.
end too.
Yeah. So I think that was all fine. And with what Antony said, I agree that like we don't know what this is setting up. I feel like that's less this show. Like I don't think this show's smart enough to be like, oh, let's set up stuff for movies 10 years in the future. I think it's more going to be movies in the past or in the future are going to be like, oh, let's tie this into this. You know what I don't think when making Age of Ultron they're like WandaVision, it's like this creative team looked at Age of Ultron and picked things out.
But it improved it.
But
They
it did
took-
improve it.
It didn't.
It's like it's the I Am Iron Man moment where they took something from the first movie and they put it in Endgame, and that moment in the first movie is then improved because of the storytelling that's being done later. I think
I like
could
Age of
happen.
Ultron. I like
I do too.
Age of Ultron. I think it's a good movie. But with what Sohail said,
Easy
that
And you
it's
need to
just
let
a
me
TV
elaborate.
show.
You have to let me elaborate
Okay.
on that point.
Before you let me elaborate, can I just rip you apart for a second? Because it also connects to something else someone else said.
Go on.
You said it's just a TV show. But the problem is that Kevin Feige did not, and everybody, not just Kevin Feige, because I don't nitpick everything. Like, I don't remember what he says. But from what I was told by Kevin Feige, the creators, the press, the media, the fans, was that this is going to be a mini movie every single week. This isn't going to be like a normal TV show. This is a Marvel TV show and a Marvel streaming show. And with shows like The Boys and Umbrella Academy and all the amazing TV that we're getting now on streaming, I was a little bit let down that this was literally just a TV show. And I think Liam said something that I agreed with before that I forgot. What were you saying? Before
I can't
you
remember.
talked about
I
how
was
it didn't
mad.
connect.
I was mad in the moment.
But it was
Wait, let me
it was
elaborate on
about
my
Kevin
point.
Feige. Okay, yeah, sure. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was saying it is a TV show. It's not a movie. That's a fact, right? But I didn't mean to infer that because it's a TV show, it can't tie into the whole story. That's not what I'm saying. It needs to because it's a Marvel TV show and it's an MCU TV show. So I thought maybe as a TV, they'll flesh out the characters. That's what I meant by TV show, that they'll flesh out the characters, tell us more about them rather than the whole story. But the whole
Look,
story
I would have been
should have been
fine.
progressed a little bit.
I would have been
Yeah.
fine with them fleshing out the characters. I liked getting to know Wanda and Vision more because I don't
Mhm.
think we got enough of them in the movie.
Mhm.
However, they needed to make it, they needed to make it more about not just them. They've had, well, they promised us 6 hours. We got 5.
That's not a fair criticism. That doesn't change
Well, it
the way
is.
That is a fair
story.
criticism.
No, it's
That's a
not.
fair
No,
criticism.
but it
Kevin
does.
Feige promised us a 6-hour story. We didn't get a 6-hour
More
story.
than once.
Multiple
More
times.
than once, and while the
criticism.
show was
You were
going
getting
on,
a 6-hour
right?
story. So
Yes.
we didn't get that. We got a 5-hour story. And you can shake your head as much as you want. That is a valid criticism. If we are told this is what's going to happen by the person in charge of it, we should expect that. That's what we should get. So not getting that means you get a bit pissed off. And that extra hour that we could have had could have explored not just Wanda and Vision's story.
What about
Because we were promised
Monica
more.
Rambeau? You didn't think we got a lot of her journey.
Well, yeah, we did.
We didn't get a lot of her during it.
We got
We-
more than
journey.
We could
more
have
than I
gotten
was
a lot more
expecting.
Monica Rambeau.
But yeah, we could have gotten more. We should have had more Darcy. We should have had more Jimmy Woo. Haywood, what was the point in him?
He was a angry white man who wanted military use.
He was a
Yes,
non-character.
but
He
to
was a
what Liam was
non-character.
saying, because I agree
the
with it
highlight of them was
100%. And yes, having an hour less of story does not affect, well, it does affect the story because you're getting less of it and it's more crammed. So it does affect the story in reality, but the show is fine. It's about managing expectations. Again, when you have the creators of the show saying it's going to be 6 hours long, when you have the creators of the show promising certain things, when you have the star of the show saying, oh, we're going to have a cameo, and it ends up being
And then
just
the
him,
arrogant
like it's
fucker
funny.
cameoed himself.
but it's a kind of a bitch move, you know. And it's again, it's about managing the expectations, because if they told us this is just going to be a little show, it's going to be a character study, this would have been amazing, because it still was really good. I stand by the fact that episode 7 is probably the worst episode of television on Disney Plus. 100%. So either way, I think that episode needed to be
I quite
cut.
enjoyed episode 7.
No one agrees with
Okay.
you, Yousef.
I said that's my opinion. Artist
worse than
subjective,
the-
that's fine.
Worse than the Frog Lady episode of The Mandalorian.
Yes,
I liked the
Frog Lady.
I liked
episode
the
of-
Frog Lady.
I did like that episode.
She was kind of charming.
Right.
Listen.
Well, I'm very sorry, but I need
my
to go
point
for work.
is, okay.
So it's been
But
nice. It's
goodbye,
been nice
Liam.
arguing with you all. And enjoy the rest of it. Yousef,
Wouldn't
good
want
luck.
it any other way.
Good luck. Good luck dealing with Antony. He needs to
Bye.
put that bitch in his place.
Fine.
Goodbye.
But my point is basically
Bye.
goodbye. My point is
one was
basically
episode
like
7?
the show is fine. Episode 7 was
Monica.
the really shitty one after the Halloween episode where Monica had contact lenses and nothing happened with Darcy, and it was
I
Modern
think it's-
Family, you know?
I think it's because they wrote out Evan
Oh.
Peters. That's why you didn't like it.
With the
That's
with,
not why.
okay,
They did-
with the
Let the ladies speak.
documentarian. Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm gonna turn down my heat because it's hot in here.
Ladies' night.
How you doing, Constance?
I'm good. I have a question for everybody.
Yeah.
Go
So
for it.
I actually think because of the nature of the show, it had the whole intrigue. I worry that the show collapsed under the hype. How do we feel about the future shows? Because no one's really talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it doesn't have that same, oh, well, we got to do this shtick like a sitcom. So do we think a show like that is actually going to be better because it doesn't have what this show, you know what I mean?
think it's gonna be more. I think it's gonna be easier to digest. It's gonna be a lot simpler to take in, because from what I'm getting, it's a lot of pew pew. Yeah, and then again, Loki, I feel like is a completely different thing,
Which
too.
is
That looks
fine,
like a
and
lot of fun.
And I think it's part of the MCU formula that like each chapter is very distinct, and sometimes they'll challenge you and sometimes they'll play to their fan. But you cannot tell me that Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and Infinity War are the same type of movie. They're very different and they appeal to
Two
different
out of those
fans.
4, yes.
Well, yes, but my point is that I think if it's for me, for example, when I saw Thor Ragnarok for the first time, I liked it, wasn't the biggest fan of it, but then I saw Black Panther and I love that. So if you don't like this chapter, there's the next one to please you. And I think if you are not the biggest fan of WandaVision and you like the MCU, Falcon and the Winter Soldier will probably scratch that itch. That's my guess. Because I think, again, it was very smart to put these two back to back, even though when they originally
That
announced it,
wasn't
it
the
was
intention.
backwards.
It was.
And
No,
that's
it
the other
was.
thing. You guys
They were
think
gonna
it's hurting
be-
the show that it wasn't second like it was supposed to be? Do you think
I
that
liked
hurts
that it
it
was
at all?
first.
I would say that to answer your first question about expectations, the hype that I was given to this show was Wanda's powers are going to be accelerated, and that's what I got. Maybe they're not as huge witchy powers, but I got the progression that I wanted. I didn't think that Loki or Falcon and the Winter Soldier were going to be tying it. There were going to be sub stories. So I knew, maybe I put myself a little bit ahead for WandaVision, thinking, oh, it's going to be because they said it will tie in to Doctor Strange, that, oh, it must be very important what they're going to say. I understand that. But with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki, Loki's a little bit different. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'll be surprised if they ever tie into the Captain America type of story. So
I think it'll tie
I know
into
that it's not going to
Black
be
Widow.
well.
It will tie into Black Widow.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're going on
though,
two tracks.
though Black
Unless they
Widow was
changed
supposed
it,
to come out,
It will tie
and
into
then
Black
Falcon and the
Widow.
Winter Soldier. So yeah, it's going to tie in. But I see Black Widow as not really a progressive story in the storyline, to be honest. So there's that.
We'll see. I mean, we don't know. Again, we're assuming
dead.
certain things.
Yeah, Natasha is gone, and she's gone on our screen. Let's read some of the comments here really quickly, just because we've been getting a lot. So,
Oh,
Kyle says that the costume was amazing. I agree with that. Isaac
Did-
says
did
the fight
the-
was incredible.
Did the spikes remind you of Pattinson's Batman mask?
little
Was I
bit,
the only
yeah.
person who thought it reminded me a little bit?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nerd.
JHK said weak finale. Isaac says it's setting up Vision's role in the MCU. Yutaka, I love the emotional depth to the story, but I felt they tried all the setup. They couldn't answer them in time. I like the post-credit scenes more. I 100% agree. I think the current and next phases of Marvel aren't going to be as good as the first three.
I disagree.
I think
don't
they'll
know.
be very
What-
different, and I respect that they're not doing the same thing. I think you have to
They're
give them
bringing
credit.
in more stuff. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
WandaVision didn't bring in more stuff, but I'm saying that X-Men are coming. You know, that's one thing.
The mutants.
The mutants. Well, we don't know
Yeah.
about that, but not only that, who else? The Fantastic Four is coming. So it's going to be
Blade.
a more diverse story, not as in
Yeah.
race. I'm talking about in storyline. So it won't be as
Hopefully in
much.
race as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we already had our Asian superhero with Black Widow. Everyone's favorite Asian actress.
She was a
Scarlett
great
Johansson.
tree. I love that.
She was an
Yeah.
amazing. I hear that she's been Groot's understudy, so she's
She's perfect.
Okay.
I do think.
Sorry, I'm just gonna run through some of these really quick.
Go for
I'm
it.
so sorry to cut you off.
You're fine.
So Isaac says we could still get the aerospace engineer. Totally disagree.
I think we're done.
Yeah, she's gone. Yutaka says they literally gave us the ending like Lost. I haven't seen Lost. I don't know what that means, but sure. Antony, you're getting a lot of support in the chat.
Thank you. Again, listen, I do think, because we can't stay on forever, unfortunately. But I do think we've spent a lot of time talking about expectation, and I think that will always plague Marvel because they've grown such a huge fan base, especially post Endgame, that why don't we take some time now to actually talk about some of the actual like costume design, production design, performances. Like first off, we got an answer of how he was able, that she used, it was very Harry Pottery, that she used the Mind Stone within her to power him. I thought that was beautiful. And I thought their goodbye and how it was flashing through all the different things. Like, again, I think taking away the 2 years of anticipation, if you look at the story we got, I think they delivered that moment beautifully. And that's what I wanted. I wanted that moment and they gave it to me. So I was very happy.
I agree.
And then one more comment I want to point out here. Joseph Wyatt says, people being disappointed their theories didn't come into fruition isn't a fair criticism. I don't think anybody's saying that. And that's what's really frustrating and the same thing happened with Wonder Woman 1984. And the same thing happened with Birds of Prey, where people kind of take your criticisms and form it into their own thing, where they're like, oh, but they're just mad that this didn't happen. When it's like, no, it's more they set up things that they didn't follow
it's a
through
gray
with.
area. It's a
not
gray
fan
area.
theory.
I wouldn't compare them. That's one thing.
Yeah, like if I was sitting here yelling about Doctor Strange not showing up specifically, or Evan Peters not being Mephisto, fair. But I'm just saying the fact that nothing happened. Not with Evan Peters. That's a bad example. Let's say that's also a bad example. Let's say the
well, this is the thing.
the aerospace engineer.
Okay,
sorry,
go.
I was just gonna an example would be if the aerospace engineer, if I was sitting here screaming about it not being Reed Richards, fair. But I'm mad that it was nobody, that they set it up and they just got rid of it. They even changed the gender of the thing, of the character. They're like, he, and then a woman shows up.
Do you know what disappointed me about that? It wasn't the fact that the story didn't give me anything. It was the fans that kept screaming in my ear, oh, it's Fantastic Four. I'm like, that's too early for them to come in. Like, ground yourself a little, So it's them telling me. I thought, oh, that was a spoiler. So I went into the episode thinking, oh, it's going to be him, and it wasn't. So then I'm like, okay, so everyone's making me confused when I just thought it was a non-thing. And I think people hear these words like, oh, this guy, or the protection agency or whatever. I thought these were non-things. Yeah, I thought these were non-things, and I don't think people need to get harped up on them.
One quick thing, and then something I want to bring up for everybody. I do think that when it comes to the aerospace engineer, if that had been a Reed Richards or a Charlie Xavier, then I think that's what people talk about, and that's where everybody would have focused that scene on, when the focus of that scene should have been on Monica, because she's going to be such an integral player going forward. And so I get that we wanted somebody there, but if there had been somebody there, it would have distracted from what the purpose of that scene was. And I think, again, you saw that Jack Schaefer, the head writer, knew where the focus should be, and that is the characters, you know. And then the other question I just want to throw out to everybody, because you brought up the fan theory comment from one of our viewers, I think Yousef. I think it's a gray area. I think, not to open up a can of worms and bring in another franchise, but I think people going into The Last Jedi being disappointed about their fan theories about Luke, that's tough. That's not the same thing as this, because that's within the movie that Rian Johnson wrote. That arc makes sense. You may not like it, and that's fair, but I think there is a difference between fan theories not being like paid off and fan theories not being seen at all, and you being upset that those fan theories, like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Because in the end, I do think the mystery that this show set off to do, they did do it, because the mystery was, how did this happen and how's Vision alive? And they gave me both those answers. She created it. Agatha was in the background, and she used her Mind Stone magic. So yes, there were red herrings.
Vision.
Yeah, there were red herrings, of course, but I also think that we hang on to every detail in these movies because Endgame and
That's
other
what they've
stories like it
conditioned
have
us for.
trained us. They have
They've
trained us
told
that
to
way.
do that.
Someone did say, what I will say, like, it's like a hit on my comment, but what I'm trying to say is, you know, teasing is fine, but when it comes to, like, I understand if it's supposed to be someone, it should have been a guy at least, right? I was like, what is the car? The guy, is that what they're referring to? So I understand that, and someone commented, you have a point. It's like, why tease something and not deliver on it? If it's a major tease, okay, but if it's minor, I don't really care.
Yeah, I think the witness protection thing, because I watched the whole show tonight before the final episode. It's one line. It equates to the the rat in Avengers Endgame, that type of thing, where it's one thing to get the story going, to get Randall Park there. It's not that important. Again, we thought it was, but that's not the show's fault. Because if you because again, to those who don't know, I'm watching everything with a friend of mine who's never seen the MCU. When we watch WandaVision, she's not going to think that, oh, what happened to the witness protection person? Because if you're watching the story, I think, and when a couple months down the line, and when Doctor Strange 2 comes out, we'll see it through different lens. The story that they're telling, Wanda's arc and Vision's arc, I do think is pretty close to as perfect as I wanted it to be. I mean, the fact that we got the House of M imagery of the little specks flying off of our characters, like, that was just thank you, because that was just what I wanted from this, and they gave it to me. But I can understand if, again, if you went in with different expectations, different theories, I can understand you may be a little underwhelmed. But I say give it a chance, rest on it, revisit the past episodes, and then maybe see if you see what they're doing now that it's complete. That's my wish.
I do think on the Rian Johnson point, I agree with you that they're very different things. Because I felt like the Rian Johnson movie, love it or hate it, it was consistent in its story. It's not like in the beginning of the movie, they had Luke Skywalker, like, you know, flipping lightsabers, and then at the end, he's depressed. He was depressed throughout the whole thing. And they also didn't tease a big fight throughout the entire movie and not deliver. So I think that's a difference there.
And it's consistent with The Force Awakens, because you know that JJ,
exactly,
like, he put him on the island.
Let's not start this argument again.
And also to defend Rian Johnson, Daisy Ridley did confirm that Rey was supposed to be a nobody from the very beginning. So it's not like Rian Johnson decided to change that. But I also think that on Marvel conditioning us to, like, see things, I wasn't really hung up on the witness protection person, because I completely forgot about that line until somebody tweeted it out today, some reporter who was like, who was this person? So, like, I didn't mind that. It was more, again, like, I'm glad they gave us an answer on Evan Peters. That was great. If they didn't, that would have been really upsetting.
Which is really funny when you think about it now, because Ralph wasn't her husband. He was the deadbeat guy that she had to use his house, because I was watching the third episode and she goes how, you know, Geraldine has no home. And I'm like, well, if you're Agatha, you don't have a home because you arrived after the hex. And I was like, so what's going on? And so it's really funny that she had to live with this douchey guy in order to stay in the hex. It was really good.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Evan Peters, I hope he gets nominated for a guest star Emmy.
What do you think
He's
of the
great.
performances, Constance?
Oh, I love the acting. A lot of people hate episodes 1 and 2. I love it. I grew up on sitcoms,
I love
so
it.
I thought they were charming. So when we got to episode 4 and suddenly it was like, now let's show you everything from outside the bubble, I was like, oh, and it was so fast. So I don't like the pacing, and I don't like the structure. I almost wish they interrupted them from episode 1 on, and so that it would be even, instead of we're gonna introduce it this way, but now we're gonna go over here, and then we have this finale that's all CGI, varying in quality. But the performance is great. I thought the special effects for episodes 1 and 2 are great. I think the costuming was amazing. I loved all the opening jingle, like different versions of the WandaVision theme song. I have a problem with it structurally when I watch the whole thing as one thing, but I'm going to watch it again later now that we have the last piece, like taking Antony's advice. They're like, right, go sleep and then watch it again,
Yeah.
But they do leave some threads, like where does White Vision go? And they don't kill Agatha. A lot of people thought, oh no, Agatha's gonna die. They're gonna kill off this great villain that we all now love.
Thank God
No, she
didn't.
mind warps her. So I'm like, oh, see, she could come back later.
But then the hex.
Yeah. Can I ask a
closed,
question?
and,
That exactly.
Like, yeah,
So
I was that's
how
what
is
I
she a
was
nosy
confused
neighbor?
about. I was waiting for us to for
Well,
the hex to close
she's-
in. I haven't spoken a lot. I'm gonna speak. I was waiting for the hex to close and for us to see Agatha's house and see her trapped in there with a little cube of red around it.
Yeah.
That's what because
Well, they
Yeah.
did show that she was, supposed to stay there, so I wouldn't say that was anything.
I'm not
No, but they got
sure
rid of the
she-
hex.
I'm not sure she's
They
trapped in the hex though. She was what Wanda says, and again, it's 5:00 in the morning where I am. What I believe is that she forces her to stay a nosy neighbor, not stay in the hex. I think she has to stay in West. I don't think.
Yeah, she stays in Westview. She stays there
Yeah.
and bees a nosy
maybe
neighbor.
they should have showed us that.
Yeah. I think
a
that's
little
another
bit of
thing with the
clarification,
show, that they
just
were,
a smidge.
yeah, they were a little sloppy with some of their, which is fine. First TV show, first
Yeah,
mystery.
I mean, yeah,
completely
first
fine.
time ever. This is
And it
this
is a really good show. Like
very
the
good show.
acting on the show, the
Oh,
set
no.
design, the costume design, the
I feel like they
cinematography,
were
the
the
music.
strongest in the first 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Because
And
that
I
was-
completely agree with Constance that it is a structural problem. And I've been talking about structure a whole lot the past couple of weeks. But with this, it's like what was so disappointing about episode 7 was episode 6 was so good. And they teased so many things, and then they just did nothing with them. And then we had Agatha all along. And then episode 8, I also felt like, while beautiful and while really well acted and really well shot,
emotional.
didn't fit where they put it. You know what I mean? You had all this build up and it's oh, and then it just didn't work in the place that they put it. And then
Well,
the
that
last thing
depends
with
on
this episode, I do
expectations.
agree that the CGI, I do it. It's not really, you can't blame everything on expectations because they
Yeah, but what
create
did
the
you want
expectations.
Agatha to do? I
That's
don't
not
understand
my
that point.
job to figure out. That's Marvel's job to figure out.
No, but
And
you're
it's not the
disappointed,
problem with the
so-
content. Yeah, because it didn't satisfy me. But I'm the consumer, if I didn't like, I'm going to use my restaurant analogy again, the food that I was served, I'm not going to go to the chef and be like, watch me cook it. I'm like,
Yousef
make
is
me
very
something
hungry,
else.
ladies and gentlemen.
I am
Yeah.
very hungry. No, but I think also with this episode, the CGI, I agree, was weak. And it's the thing with the show is they're trying to do so many different things that they're kind of forgetting that it's not a movie and that it is a TV show. And so they're so focused on all these different things and they're so ambitious, which I commend them for, but they just cannot pull it off. And that's not their fault. But we have to be real with ourselves when we say they could not pull it off, and they didn't. I think the CGI also was weak in this episode. It looked like, remember when Black Panther and what's his face, Killmonger, were fighting in the suits in the trailer, and everybody was like, "Oh my
Yes.
god!" It felt like that, which is fine. It's a TV show, but like, don't make a whole CGI episode if you can't pull it off. And it's just things like that where the content is good, but it's just how they structured it and how they built it and how they released it.
Yes,
Natalia.
Natalia.
I feel like this is like 3 shows in one. We have the beautiful couple and them going through trauma. We have Wanda magic, because still no mutants. And we have science-y, techy, army, we need a weapon. And like, it didn't really fit, but they tried so hard. They tried really hard. I felt like it felt closer with the couple and the magic. I felt like the science one was always on the back burner. That also could have just been because of the pacing of the first 2-3 episodes.
Yeah,
See,
I was
Yeah.
I was skeptical about how Monica was going to be in this, and I understand why people think why her storyline was in here, but it made sense that Wanda took over Westview. That's where the science come in and the military. So I was like, okay, that's a fit. I'll agree with.
see, per,
Little,
per,
sorry, go ahead.
just personally, because I think we're talking about how the show coalesced all together. Personally, what I saw the show being, and I really liked how they explored it, was, you know, in Endgame, we got the 5 years. You know, we got to see what life was like when everybody was 50% was gone, and it was very harrowing. It was very drastic. What I really liked them exploring here is that it didn't go back to normal after Hulk snapped his fingers. That people did not feel like, that's what I think, because everybody last week was asking with episode 8, like, why did Vision pick such like a bad town to live in? And I'm like, I think it was a
It
nice
was 5
town when he
years
bought
ago.
it
It was a
before
quaint little
Infinity War.
place.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, like, even like with Monica, like, even Wanda made her life better, because if you remember, Monica in episode 3 is talking about how she got a big promotion at her job, which she didn't get because Hayward became the acting director of Sword. And so I think what the show was saying, and what I loved about its integrity when it came to the end, in that it didn't allow Vision and the kids to escape, even though we'll see what they do in the future, is that it's all about how, you know, it's that line, but what is grief if not love persevering? Her love for her family perseveres past the grief, even if they don't themselves. And it's about
Mhm.
understanding that. And I think you saw that with Monica, with dealing with the fact that she wasn't there for her mom.
I
And
feel
you
like they
and you
could have
saw
been a
it.
little stronger on that.
And that's fair. That's fair. I think it worked for me, just because I think I always felt that Wanda's character was very well used in the Avengers movies, although it was smaller. Like when she has to kill Vision, it really hits in Infinity War. So I might have been already on the train that they didn't need to set it up so much in the show. So that's fair. But again, that's me, MCU, and just this weekly type of thing.
Nat, really quickly, you put your hand up, so do your point, and then I want to get to the chat, because there's one person I want to address, because he or she asked like a bunch of questions, and then I think we should wrap it up because we're coming up on an hour. So
God, time is fake, as I continue to say. Kyle just said, I really love Monica, but I wish we got a better understanding of her powers. Agree, but also no. They didn't give her, yeah. They totally didn't have the time for it. So with what they did have and they showed us, I was content with.
Yeah.
And again, this is just set up for what's to come. And sorry, Yousef, I know you hate that, but in respect to Monica and her character, that's
yes.
that's
Well, I agree
that's
with the
what's
Monica thing.
necessary. Oh, okay, cool. But
Yeah,
not with, like, the
because
Jada
she
thing.
was something that we knew was setting up for Captain. But like, what I don't like is when there's stuff specifically within the show that it's only for this show and only will apply to this show, and everybody's like, future.
Yeah.
But in the chat, Lil Bougie said asked a
morning.
bunch of things. So yeah, good morning, Lil Bougie. So first he or she, it looks like a he in the picture, but I
They.
don't want to make assumptions. They asked, but why did he have powers though? Referring to Evan Peters, and like I'm still confused. How does he have powers? Was it the necklace that gave him the powers? I do think it's the necklace that
Yeah.
gave him the powers. Yes.
I agree.
And then in response to me, they said, "You're just nitpicking at this point. How are you saying you want something but don't know what you want? So how are they going to please you?" I'm not saying I don't know what I want. Well, I'm not saying I don't know what I want, and I'm not saying that I want them to give me something specific. I'm saying that they promised me something, and they did not deliver on that thing. Does that make sense?
It does.
I think, listen, I'll defend you for a little bit. I think you as a fan
you.
and can go, yeah, of course, you as a fan can go in and, this isn't Iron Man. This isn't the first one out. This is the 24th chapter, and you can go in wanting to see something. And if you don't see that, I can understand where you can be disappointed. I do think that even if they said a bunch of stuff in the past 2.5 years, I think what was always the case is that this is going to be a story about Wanda and Vision, and it was going to be a sitcom and a celebration of television. And I think in the end, yes, there were threads that they didn't necessarily wrap up or didn't pay attention to as much as maybe we thought of. The aerospace engineer, I think, is the biggest one. But the show itself, I think when we look back on it, did tell a full story. It showed us Wanda's grief at the beginning, post Endgame, of being in a world where she can't move on and getting to the point where she can, because she knows that her love persevered. And so, yes, we didn't get the aerospace engineer, but I feel like we got one of the richest stories. Like, I would put their love story at the top. Like, I would put them equal to Han and Leia, personally. I think their love story in this show, starting in Age of Ultron, ending here, is powerful. And so I think,
give us an MCU adjacent couple, and I was like, I don't know.
well, Peggy and Steve. There's
Peggy
one.
and Steve.
I think they are the
That's
new
a good
Peggy
one.
and Steve.
Or Tony and whatever Gwyneth Paltrow's.
Pepper.
Yeah.
Pepper.
And Natasha and Hulk, we can't forget them.
So yeah,
Natasha and Hulk. Yeah.
Brutasha. So yeah, I will defend you, Yousef, that you're allowed to have you don't have to solve the plot holes if they didn't work for you. That's fair, because we're not Matt Shackman and Jack Schaefer. That's fine. I do think though that in time we will grow and we will evolve our opinion past 3 o'clock in the morning and see it again, and we will grow.
Yeah.
We will learn. So yeah.
Oh, how sweet. What a sweet way to end this breakdown.
And I think he
let's-
agrees with you. Lil Bougie agrees with you as well.
Yeah.
So
And little everyone's happy now.
everyone's happy.
Let's ruin it. How about we go around in a circle? Yes, round of applause. And just give kind of final thoughts on the show and where we think it's gonna go, and like say whatever you want, but like be quick because I gotta sleep. But yeah,
You
Nat,
have
why
to
don't you go
sleep.
first? I've been up since like 6 a.m., 5 a.m. actually, and it's 2:20 right now. So I do need
Whoa.
to sleep. But yeah, sorry, Nat, go.
I'm feeling a lot better about the show now. You've swayed me a little bit, you three here. Sorry, Yousef, you were outnumbered after we left. And to be frank, I was always a little bit in the middle with it. I do feel like the 7th episode was the one that just really tripped me up. Anyways, yeah, it's a very I don't think sad is the right word, but it is a great continuous and just like kind of show. If you're looking at it from the you have to pick the perspective of whatever sect of the show that you're going with. For me right now, the one that I'm happy with is the romance, is the coupling. And that part I felt was the most successful and the one that I felt like we got the best. And I decided that part was good. The magic one, a little bit. The one that I didn't like at all was the sciencey one. That felt, we got that one. I felt like it was too late. Even, it was weird though. We got the magic one last, but I felt like we got more out of it. Then again, science is never my forte. But magic is. I don't know. I've been swayed a little bit. I like this show more than when I came in here at 4 a.m. And yeah, way to go. Fist bump it up.
Victory.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm gonna go kiss the cats and go to sleep.
Okay. So Hale, what do you think?
I think the MCU is the best out there. And I know that's not, it doesn't mean they can't get criticism. They must be criticized for what they get wrong. And I think they try to, make the images, oh, we've been the perfect world building, story building, comic book genre universe out there. There have been really terrible movies that I did not like out of the MCU. But I don't think this is anywhere near to what I hate. I love the show. I like what they did. They made me freak out. They made me laugh and kind of sad, especially at the end scene of Wanda and Vision. Going forward, I'm excited about Wanda. She's going to do whatever she can to get her family back, and we'll see how that goes. Overall, I'm excited. I'm happy with what they've given me. Next time, if any of the MCU people are listening, give us something more to tie in to what you're saying, or don't at least manage expectations by not saying this will tie in or using those phrases or words.
Awesome. Antony, why don't you go?
I can't wait for Liam to watch the second half of this video and feel like,
Oh, he's gonna be so disappointed.
Notice
in
how
me.
calm it got after he left.
yeah.
He's gonna hate me after this.
How dare you?
Yeah, overall, what I really loved, I think in the end, the 8th episode of the show will speak the most to me because I think it captured why we turned to television. Why, especially during the pandemic, we turn to it for happiness, for joy. We aspire to the fake reality of it, and we try to shape our lives after it. And sometimes it doesn't, and most all the times, it doesn't work out that we get the perfect television life. But that's okay, because as long as we have that hope, that's all that matters. And I think that what this show is doing by reflecting culture as it shapes it, as it breaks this new mold of telling a television show within a whole big media film franchise, the fact that it got people to watch, people were excited. And I think in the end, people will be more so generally favorable to the show. We don't know the reactions. We'll see what happens. I think that this was a big success for them. I loved Elizabeth Olsen and the whole cast. I think it was a powerful show that spoke to me. I like that it took risks, that they weren't resting on their laurels, and I'm very excited to see where Marvel goes next, especially with the Scarlet Witch character. And yeah, so that's my thoughts. I love this show 3000.
Boo.
Constance.
I really like the show. If this was like the Olympics and I'm one of the judges, to me, I'm like, oh, they didn't stick the landing, so I'm going to take a few tenths of a point off. So to me, it's like a solid 8 out of 10. But I loved it. I love the story arc. If you look at the big picture, 2020 was not kind to us. The pandemic, we're starved for content. So I think where our headspace is really playing into how we feel. I like we talked about Ultron earlier. I think Ultron gets better with time. I think this, if you don't like it now, I think this will get better with time. So any criticisms that this show gets, I actually think it's kind of deserved, because you can't put ideas out there saying, this is important later, or this is going to do this later, and then not give a little bit more. So I do think it's deserved. Like the things that upset me, I blame the internet, because I didn't think Dottie was important, but the internet told me she's going to be important. I would not have thought that on my own. So anything that I feel bad about, I'm like, well, that's not really the show's fault. I was listening to all this chatter, and maybe I should have just kept it quiet, you know?
Mhm.
So
Difficult to do on the internet.
for the future, again, this was not supposed to be the first show. Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be first. So I'm anxious for that show just to see if it matters that it got switched. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. And also because that's a very different format, it would be nice to see another show just to be like, oh, Wanda was this and Loki was that, just to see what the consistency is, or if it's okay that they're very different things. So I'm trying to move forward with an open mind.
Yeah. And I think I agree with all of you. Some of you definitely swayed me. And some things I'll stick by. I think, to what so Hale said, Marvel has been doing this for what, 13 years now? Yeah. So they deserve, like, they earned their fandom, so when people say Marvel gets away with what, and I know I made that argument today, but they deserve it because they have been doing this for 13 years where other franchises have not. Sorry, I just saw a comment that said internet speculation about the show equals QAnon, and it threw me off. But I do think it earns that. It earns the support it gets. And I think, my criticisms, I don't know about everybody else, but my criticisms come from a place of love. I want Marvel to succeed and to grow and to be better. And I do think looking back at the show, I might enjoy it a little bit more now that I know what it is. I think a lot of people went into this as the first Marvel, the first piece of Marvel content since 2019, since Far From Home. Add to that, it's the first Disney Plus show for Marvel. Add to that, it's a character that everybody loves, like Wanda. So obviously people are going to be like crazy about it. And at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't matter what I think or what you think or whatever. It matters how much it makes and the subscriber counts. Nielsen has it like middle of the road, but I think the show's huge just from the online chatter of it. It could be like a small but potent fan base, but I don't think that's the case. Like Disney Plus crashes. It crashed for me today. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Kevin Feige's a genius. This is a product. Doesn't matter what I think. They delivered a good product and
a good story.
Yeah. And like the ending, I just want to, like the line, the scene, I don't remember it because it's 2 a.m., but with Vision and Wanda talking, and she was like, I'm sure we'll meet again because I've seen you die before or something. They phrased it much better than what I just did.
It was like, we're not going to say goodbye. I'll just say hello to you again or something like that.
Yeah,
I think it was
like you said
like
goodbye to me before, so I'm sure we'll say hello again or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was beautiful, tucking the kids into bed, seeing them kind of fade away. The end credit scenes I loved. When the scroll popped up, I was like, oh my God. And there were so many moments throughout the episode. And I was kind of mixed during the episode. Liam kind of turned me during the beginning, during like our meeting, if like you guys saw that a little bit. But there were moments I was really excited about, like when Monica stood there and like took the bullets. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But yeah, I think it's a good show. I just think that they need to be careful about how they phrase things and what they say, because I think Paul Bettany came from a place of love when he said, oh, look at this cameo, but he shouldn't be saying that when it's the first Marvel thing in a year and all that. So
before we wrap up, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, are we going to forget the fact that Hayward shot at kids? He was shooting Billy and Tommy. That was
true.
Oh.
Yeah. The horror elements of the show are amazing. Like the scene with the zombie witches.
Oh, that was gross. I hated it.
CGI bad. Concept amazing. I was like, whoa. And when he crushed her head,
like it was Suits.
It looked like a Snapchat filter.
It looked like
I
everyone hated the CGI. I thought I loved it. I thought it was great.
The budget will get better though. The budget will get better.
Yeah.
now that this has been proven,
And it's
especially because I think
Better for me.
this will sweep the Emmys. I think if Watchmen did, I think this has the acting awards. I think Elizabeth Olsen
Acting,
has that in the
Acting,
bag.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's its
Um,
competition? It has such limited competition due to not a lot of pandemic
Ted Lasso.
in this season.
That's true. That's
Oh,
true.
no,
We'll
not
see.
Ted Lasso.
We'll see.
But we don't want to win
But
by
yeah.
default. That's not good.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I
has
after
to be
13
earned.
years, I would love to see Kevin Feige give a speech, but he probably wouldn't. He's so humble. He would let like Jack Schaefer probably give the speech. Anyway,
Yeah. Elizabeth Olsen deserves the world, and she is great, and so does Evan Peters. We are still Evan Peters stands. So yeah.
Says you.
Hey. And yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I feel bad for him. He's crying in a corner somewhere. He's probably this what was his name? Little Bougie. That's probably Aaron Taylor Johnson, like crying. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. This was great. Our second live stream, it was a lot of fun. We had 160 people coming and going, so that's incredible. If you want us to continue this conversation, we have a podcast. We're returning on Tuesday, March 9th. Anthony's hosting, so I assume we'll be talking WandaVision some more. And we have a bunch, well, not a bunch, but like I think 4 more hosts, 2, 4, 6, 3 more hosts that are going to be joining us. One who left early today, so he'll get to rant a little bit more, but that'll be fun. Follow us on Twitter at the Council Pod, Instagram at @the_Council Pod. We have a TikTok that's coming up pretty soon. We have exciting information, exciting announcement coming really, really soon that almost got leaked today on social media, WandaVision style, but we kept that under control.
And subscribe.
And subscribe. Yeah, there we
Ring
go.
that bell.
It's 2 a.m. Subscribe,
Ring
ring
the
the bell, hit the
notification
like,
bell.
you know what to do. Watch our
Yeah.
videos. And yeah, we love you 3000. Let's bring that back. Okay. Nice
Thank you
talking
all.
to
Good night.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
End stream. Boom. Yay, we did it.